The Mummy's Curse, an English learning adventure for kids. Hey kids! Are you ready for a spooky adventure? Join us today as we explore an ancient Egyptian tomb filled with mummies, treasure, and mysterious puzzles. Along the way, you'll learn new English words and phrases that will help you solve the puzzles and escape the tomb. It was a dark and stormy night. The wind howled outside, and the rain beat against the windows. Inside the museum, a group of kids were on a field trip. They were excited to see the Egyptian exhibit, but they didn't know what they were in for. The kids were led by their teacher, Mrs. Jones. She was a kind and patient woman who loved teaching kids about history. Mrs. Jones told the kids that the Egyptian exhibit was one of the most popular in the museum. It contained artifacts from ancient Egypt, including mummies, statues, and jewelry. The kids were excited to see the mummies. They had heard stories about them, but they had never seen one in real life. Mrs. Jones told the kids that mummies were bodies that had been preserved so that they could last for a long time. The ancient Egyptians believed that mummies could come back to life. The kids were amazed by the mummies. They were much bigger than they had imagined. The kids also saw statues of ancient Egyptian gods and goddesses. They saw jewelry that had been worn by pharaohs and queens. The kids were having a great time exploring the Egyptian exhibit. They were learning a lot about ancient Egypt. They were also having a lot of fun. Suddenly, the lights went out. The kids were plunged into darkness. They could hear the wind howling outside and the rain beating against the windows. The kids were scared. They didn't know what was happening. They started to cry. Mrs. Jones tried to calm the kids down. She told them that there was nothing to be afraid of. She said that the power would come back on soon. The kids waited in the darkness. They were scared, but they were also curious. They wondered what was happening. After a few minutes, the lights came back on. The kids were relieved. They were also excited. They knew that they had just experienced something special. As the kids were exploring the exhibit, they found a secret passage. They were curious, so they decided to follow it. The passage led them to an ancient Egyptian tomb. The kids were amazed by the tomb. They had never seen anything like it before. There were hieroglyphics on the walls, and there was a sarcophagus in the center of the room. The kids were excited to explore the tomb. They started to look around. They saw that the hieroglyphics were stories about the pharaoh who was buried in the tomb. They also saw that the sarcophagus was made of gold. The kids were having a great time exploring the tomb. They were learning a lot about ancient Egypt. They were also having a lot of fun. Suddenly, they heard a noise. They turned around and saw a mummy standing in the doorway. The mummy was wrapped in bandages, and its eyes were glowing red. The kids were scared. They didn't know what to do. They started to cry. The mummy raised its arms. The kids screamed and ran away. The mummy chased the kids through the tomb. The kids were scared, but they were also fast. They ran as fast as they could. The kids ran out of the tomb and into the museum. They ran to Mrs. Jones. They told her what had happened. Mrs. Jones didn't believe the kids at first. She thought they were just trying to scare her. But then she saw the mummy. The mummy was standing in the doorway of the museum. It was looking for the kids. Mrs. Jones knew that she had to do something. She had to protect the kids. Mrs. Jones picked up a vase and threw it at the mummy. The vase hit the mummy in the head, and the mummy fell to the ground. The kids were relieved. They were safe. Mrs. Jones called the police. The police came and took the mummy away. The kids were heroes. They had saved the day. The kids were amazed by the tomb. They had never seen anything like it before. There were hieroglyphics on the walls, and there was a sarcophagus in the center of the room. The kids were excited to explore the tomb. They started to look around. They saw that the hieroglyphics were stories about the pharaoh who was buried in the tomb. They share more under Scorvert. The kids discover a mysterious inscription on the sarcophagus, hinting at a hidden treasure. They work together to decipher the inscription, using their knowledge of hieroglyphics, learned from earlier exhibits, and teamwork skills. Solving the inscription reveals a hidden passage behind a statue. The kids cautiously enter the hidden passage, encountering booby traps and riddles along the way. They use their courage and resourcefulness to overcome each obstacle, learning new English vocabulary like trapdoor, lever, and puzzle. They discover clues about the pharaoh's curse and its connection to the hidden treasure. The kids finally reach the treasure chamber, filled with gold, jewels, and artifacts. But they also encounter the mummy spirit, guarding the treasure and warning them of the curse's consequences. Using their understanding of ancient Egyptian beliefs and the lessons learned, the kids convince the spirit to lift the curse, realizing that true value lies not in material possessions, but in knowledge and respect for the past. The kids leave the tomb with newfound knowledge and respect for ancient Egypt, having completed their adventure and broken the curse. They share their experience with Mrs. Jones and the museum staff, showcasing their bravery and learning while preserving the sanctity of the tomb's secrets. Back in class, the kids recount their adventure to their classmates, using interactive elements like drawings, presentations, or short role-playing scenes to engage the audience. They showcase the new English vocabulary and concepts they learned, demonstrating the practical application of their museum trip. The teacher emphasizes the importance of curiosity, courage, and teamwork, highlighting the value of museums as repositories of knowledge and cultural understanding. English vocabulary bank with sentences from The Mummy's Curse. Characters. Kids, a group of children on a field trip to the museum. Teacher, the teacher leading the trip. Mummy, an ancient Egyptian priest who has been mummified. Places. Museum, a place where artifacts from ancient Egypt are displayed. Egyptian exhibit, the section of the museum that displays Egyptian artifacts. Secret passage, a hidden passage that leads to a pharaoh's tomb. Tomb, the burial place of a pharaoh. Things. Curse, a magic spell intended to protect a person or place from evil. Riddle, a difficult question that requires creative thinking to solve. Treasure, a collection of valuable objects. Statue, a representation of a person or animal made of stone or metal. Jewelry, pieces of decoration made of gold, silver, or precious stones. Scrolls, sheets of papyrus containing texts. Actions. Explore, wander around a place and discover new things. Solve, find the answer to a question or riddle. Escape, leave a place quickly. Search, try to find something. Discover, learn something new. Understand, know the meaning of something. Adjectives. Ancient, from a long time ago. Mysterious, not clear or understood. Scary, causing fear. Precious, valuable. Magical, having supernatural powers. Amazing, causing surprise and admiration. Concepts. Ancient Egyptian civilization, a civilization that existed in Egypt thousands of years ago. Mummification, the process of preserving a human body after death. Curse, a spell intended to harm someone. Pharaoh, the ruler of ancient Egypt. Hieroglyphics, the writing system used by ancient Egyptian civilization. Afterlife, the life after death. Sentences. The kids were excited to explore the Egyptian exhibit at the museum. They found a secret passage that led to a pharaoh's tomb. The mummy was guarding the tomb and its treasure. The kids had to solve riddles and overcome obstacles to escape the tomb. They learned a lot about ancient Egyptian civilization and the power of words.